I was sitting in my kitchen when my phone rang. The lawyer's name flashed on the screen. Margaret Foster from Foster and Associates. My hands trembled as I answered. Mrs. Davidson? This is Margaret Foster. I'm calling regarding your late brother Thomas's estate. I need you to come to my office tomorrow at 2 o'clock. There are some matters we need to discuss. My brother Thomas had passed away 4 months earlier from a sudden heart attack. He was only 63. We'd grown apart over the years. He lived his life in Seattle working in tech, while I stayed in our hometown of Columbus, Ohio, teaching elementary school for 37 years before retiring. Still, his death hit me hard. He was my only sibling. The next afternoon, I sat across from Margaret Foster in her downtown office. She was a woman in her 40s, with kind eyes and a professional demeanor that put me somewhat at ease. Mrs. Davidson, I'll get straight to the point. Your brother's estate is valued at approximately $2.3 million. I blinked. I'm sorry, what? $2.3 million. He had substantial investments, a paid-off home in Seattle worth $800,000, retirement accounts, and life insurance. You are the sole beneficiary of his estate. I couldn't breathe. Thomas and I had grown up poor. Our father worked at a factory, our mother cleaned houses. We'd shared a bedroom in a cramped apartment until I was 16. How did Thomas accumulate this kind of money? He was very successful in his career, Margaret explained, as if reading my mind. He worked for Microsoft in the early days, then moved to Amazon. He lived frugally and invested wisely. He never married, no children. His will is very clear, everything goes to you. I drove home in a daze. That evening, I called my daughter Rachel. She was 38, lived in Denver with her husband Mark and my 2 grandchildren. Rachel had always been sensible, grounded. I needed to tell someone. Mom! Oh my God! She screamed when I told her. This is incredible! You'll never have to worry about money again! I don't know what to do with it all, I admitted. It seems like so much. Well, we'll figure it out together. Mark and I can help you. Maybe you should fly out here next month and we can talk about it properly? That sounds wonderful, honey. The next few weeks were a blur of paperwork. Margaret guided me through everything: probate, tax documents, transferring accounts. Thomas's house would need to be sold. I'd have to fly to Seattle to go through his belongings. Take your time, Margaret advised. These things don't need to be rushed. One evening, about 6 weeks after that first phone call, I was cleaning out my email inbox. I have a bad habit of letting messages pile up, mostly junk mail, promotional emails, things I never read. I was deleting them in batches when I noticed something odd. There was an email in my trash folder that I didn't remember deleting. The subject line read, Mom's Situation. It was from Rachel's email address, sent to Mark. But it was in my trash. Which meant, had it been forwarded to me somehow? I clicked on it. My heart stopped. Mark, Mom called again yesterday. She's completely overwhelmed with all of it, which works in our favor. I really think she's showing early signs of dementia. Did you see how she forgot Emma's birthday last month? And she keeps repeating the same stories. We need to move fast before she does something stupid with the money. I'm thinking we convince her to set up a living trust with us as trustees. She'll feel like she's being responsible, but we'll have control. With $2.3 million, we could finally buy that house in Cherry Creek. Your business could get the capital injection it needs. This is our inheritance. Dad never saved anything, so this is what we're owed. I'll work on her when she visits next month. Love you. I read it 3 times. 4 times. My hands were shaking so hard I had to set down my phone. This couldn't be real. Not Rachel. Not my daughter. But there was more. I started searching my trash folder more carefully. There were other emails I'd never seen. They must have been forwarded to me by mistake. Maybe someone Thomas knew who had access to email chains? Or perhaps they'd been sent to an old email address of mine that forwarded to my current one? I never fully understood technology. Another email. This one from Mark to Rachel. Your mom is so trusting, babe. She'll believe whatever you tell her. My business partner says we can set up the trust, so she thinks she has access, but we control everything. If we say it's for estate planning and protecting her from scammers, she'll go along with it. We just need to make sure she doesn't talk to any lawyers besides the ones we choose. That Foster woman seems too honest. We need someone we can work with. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. My own daughter. My precious Rachel. who I'd raised alone after her father left when she was 6. Rachel, who I'd worked 2 jobs to put through college. Rachel, who called me every Sunday without fail. Rachel, who brought the grandchildren to visit every Christmas. She thought I had dementia. She was planning to steal from me. The emails kept coming as I dug deeper. There was a whole thread between Rachel, Mark, and Mark's brother David, who apparently was a lawyer, though not the kind you want representing you. Rachel wrote, "David, can you draft something official-looking? We need her to sign papers that give us power of attorney, medical and financial. Tell her it's standard stuff for people her age. Mom taught 3rd grade for almost 40 years. She's not stupid, but she's naive about legal matters. If we package it right, she'll sign." David responded, "Easy. I'll make it look like basic estate planning documents. She'll never know the difference. Once you have POA, you can do whatever you want. Transfer assets, sell property, everything. Just make sure she doesn't show the papers to anyone else before signing." Mark added, "What about the brother's house in Seattle? That's $800K right there. We should push her to sell quickly before the market drops. Tell her it's too much hassle to maintain a property from across the country." Rachel again, "Good thinking. Once it sells, we'll convince her to put the money in a joint account for easier management. Then we can transfer it out gradually. She'll never notice. Honestly, with her memory issues, she probably won't even remember how much was there to begin with." I sat on my bathroom floor and cried until I couldn't cry anymore. The worst part wasn't even the money. It was the casual cruelty in their words, the way they talked about me like I was a senile old fool, the way they'd analyze my vulnerabilities, my trusting nature, my lack of financial sophistication, my age, and plan to exploit every single one. I had forgotten Emma's birthday last month, but not because of dementia. I'd forgotten because it was the week of Thomas's funeral, and I was drowning in grief. Rachel knew that. She'd been there. The repeated stories they mocked, those were stories about Thomas, memories from our childhood that I'd been sharing because I was grieving. I'd wanted to keep his memory alive, and she'd twisted that into evidence of cognitive decline. For 3 days, I didn't leave my house. I couldn't eat. I barely slept. I kept rereading those emails, hoping I'd misunderstood something, but I hadn't. On the 4th day, Rachel called, "Mom, how are you? I was thinking about your visit next month. Mark found a great lawyer here, a friend of his brother's who specializes in estate planning for retirees. We thought while you're here, you could meet with him and get everything properly organized. Doesn't that sound smart?" Her voice was so warm, so caring, so fake. That sounds good, honey," I managed. "Perfect. I'll set it up. And Mom, don't worry about a thing. Mark and I are going to take care of everything. You've worked so hard your whole life, you deserve to just relax now and let us handle the complicated stuff." After we hung up, I walked to my bedroom and looked at the photos on my dresser. Rachel at her college graduation, Rachel on her wedding day, Rachel holding newborn Emma, then later baby Connor. My beautiful daughter, who I'd loved more than life itself, who was planning to rob me blind. I called Margaret Foster the next morning. "Margaret, I need your help, and I need you to not ask me too many questions right now." To her credit, she simply said, "Tell me what you need." I forwarded her the emails. All of them. Then I laid out what I wanted to do. First, we set up an irrevocable trust for Emma and Connor, my grandchildren. They'd get distributions for education, first homes, and medical needs, with the remainder paid out when they turned 30. Rachel and Mark had no access, no control. The trust was managed by an independent fiduciary, Margaret recommended. Second, I set up my own trust that paid me a monthly income but kept the principal protected. If I ever did develop dementia or become incapacitated, control went to a professional trustee, not to Rachel. Third, Thomas's house in Seattle would be sold, but the proceeds would go directly into these protected trusts. Rachel would never touch a penny of it. Fourth, I revised my will. The house I lived in, the small 3-bedroom ranch I'd paid off over 30 years of teaching, would go to Emma and Connor equally when I died. Rachel got nothing. "Are you sure?" Margaret asked gently. "These are very permanent decisions." "I've never been more sure of anything." "What about confronting her? Giving her a chance to explain?" "I thought about that. God knows I'd thought about it. But what was there to explain? The emails were clear. The planning was detailed. This wasn't a misunderstanding or a moment of weakness. This was calculated, premeditated theft. This was my daughter thinking so little of me that she believed she could manipulate me without consequence. No confrontation, I said. I just want to protect myself. The paperwork took 3 weeks to complete. During that time, Rachel called every few days, always warm, always concerned, always subtly steering conversation toward my finances and my upcoming visit. Have you thought about what you'll do with Uncle Thomas's money? She'd ask. Oh, I'm not sure yet. It's overwhelming. Well, that's why we'll help you. You shouldn't have to figure this out alone. Each conversation felt like swallowing glass. When everything was finalized, I called Rachel. Honey, I'm not going to be able to visit next month after all. What? Why not? Mom, we had plans. I know, but I've been thinking, and I need some time to myself, to process Thomas's death, to figure out my next steps. But we were going to help you with the estate planning. I've already taken care of it. I met with a lawyer here in Columbus. Everything's done. The silence on the other end was deafening. You met with a lawyer? Which lawyer? Just someone Margaret Foster recommended. Everything's handled now. Trusts, will, all of it. Very thorough. Mom. Her voice had changed. Harder now. What exactly did you set up? Oh, just the usual things. Making sure the grandchildren are taken care of. You know, another pause. What about the house in Seattle? Have you sold it yet? The proceeds are going into a trust for Emma and Connor's education. A trust? Mom, we should have discussed this. Why? The word came out sharper than I intended. It's my money, isn't it? Of course. I just meant, we're family. We should make these decisions together. The decisions are made, Rachel. That was 2 years ago. Rachel called me a week later, angry now. All pretense dropped. She'd apparently consulted with David, the lawyer brother-in-law, who'd told her the trusts were ironclad. She couldn't break them. This is insane, she yelled. I'm your daughter. You're giving everything to your grandchildren and cutting me out? I'm not cutting you out. You're just not getting what you thought you would. What's that supposed to mean? I could have told her. I could have thrown the emails in her face, made her explain herself, forced a confrontation. But what would be the point? She'd deny it, or justify it, or twist it somehow, make me the villain. Tell me I was paranoid or senile or both. It means I made the choices I thought were best, I said quietly. That's all. She hung up on me. Mark called the next day. He tried a different approach, reasonable, concerned. Mom, Rachel is really upset. We're just worried about you. Are you sure you're thinking clearly about all this? It seems like maybe the grief over Thomas's death is affecting your judgment. There it was. The suggestion that I wasn't mentally competent. Laying the groundwork for exactly what they'd planned in those emails. My judgment is fine, Mark. Better than it's ever been, actually. But don't you think it's strange to put everything in trusts? That's a very aggressive approach. Most people your age keep things simpler. Most people my age don't have $2.3 million to protect. He tried to argue more, but I cut him off. I told him I needed to go, and I hung up. The calls stopped after that. So did the Sunday phone calls from Rachel. So did the texts, the birthday cards, the invitations to visit for holidays. My daughter cut me out of her life as cleanly as if I'd never existed. It hurt more than I can explain. I'd lie awake at night wondering if I'd made the right choice. Maybe I should have confronted her. Maybe there was some explanation I'd missed. Maybe I was the one in the wrong. But then I'd reread those emails. The contempt in every line. The eager planning. The way they'd laughed about manipulating me. And I'd know I'd made the only choice possible. I haven't seen Emma and Connor in 2 years. Rachel won't let me. I send birthday cards and Christmas presents to their house, but I never know if they receive them. I imagine Rachel throws them away, tells the children that Grandma is sick or forgetful or just doesn't care about them anymore. That's the price I paid for protecting myself. I lost my grandchildren. Some days, it feels like too high a price. But then I think about the alternative. I think about signing those power of attorney documents, trusting Rachel and Mark to help me, waking up one day to find my accounts empty, and my house sold out from under me. Being told it was all done for my own good because I was too incompetent to manage my own affairs. That would have been worse. I still live in my small ranch house in Columbus. I volunteer at the local library 3 days a week, it turns out. I love helping people find books, recommending stories, organizing children's reading programs. It gives me purpose. I joined a grief support group after Thomas died. I met a woman there named Patricia whose husband had passed. We became friends. She introduced me to her book club, and now I have a whole group of women I see regularly. We go to movies, try new restaurants, take day trips. I started traveling. I'd never traveled much, money was always tight when I was teaching, and then after retirement, I didn't think I could afford it. But now I can. I've been to national parks out west, historical sites in New England, even took a river cruise down the Mississippi. I'm dating someone. His name is Robert. He's 72, a retired accountant, a widower. We met at the library. He volunteers there too. We take walks together, cook dinners at each other's houses, watch old movies. It's comfortable and sweet and nothing like the desperate loneliness I felt after Rachel cut me off. Last month, I got a friend request on Facebook from Emma. She's 14 now. Her profile picture showed a beautiful young woman with Rachel's eyes and my mother's smile. I stared at that request for 3 days before declining it. I wanted to accept. God, I wanted to. But Rachel set up that profile, I'm sure of it. This was just another way to get close to me, to monitor me, maybe to lay groundwork for another attempt at the money. I can't risk it. The trusts are set up so that when Emma and Connor turn 18, they'll receive a letter from Margaret Foster explaining everything. They'll get copies of the emails. They'll learn what their parents plan to do and why I made the choices I made. I hope they'll understand that I loved them, that I always loved them, and that protecting them meant protecting myself first. Maybe they'll hate me anyway. Maybe they'll believe whatever story Rachel has told them about their crazy, paranoid grandmother who abandoned them for no reason. That's a risk I have to take. I look at my life now, the library work, my book club friends, Robert, my travels, and I realize something strange. I'm happy. Not despite losing Rachel, but because I chose myself. I chose to protect what was mine. I chose dignity over being victimized by someone who was supposed to love me. There's a photo on my mantle of Rachel when she was 7 years old. She's wearing a pink dress I made by hand because we couldn't afford store-bought. She's grinning at the camera, holding up a drawing she'd made me at school. "I love you, Mommy" is written in crayon across the top. I still love that little girl. But that little girl grew into someone I don't recognize. Someone who looked at her aging mother and saw dollar signs. Someone who could write, "This is our inheritance," about money I'd worked my entire life for, money my brother had earned and chosen to leave me. Someone who could plan to steal from me and feel justified in doing it. I keep the photo there as a reminder. Not of what I lost, but of what I protected. Not of the daughter who betrayed me, but of the choice I made to save myself. Some people say family is everything, that you should forgive family anything. But I say this. Family should earn that loyalty. Blood relation doesn't give someone the right to exploit you, manipulate you, or steal from you. I chose myself. I chose my peace. I chose a life where I could look in the mirror and respect the woman looking back at me, and I'd make that choice again. Every single time.